Far beyond the edges of known space, a small group of beings drifted in silence. They were called the Trilari, and for centuries they had been rejected by every civilization they tried to join. Their tall, thin bodies glowed faintly in the dark of space, their many eyes reflecting stars in strange colors, and their hands, long and delicate, moved in ways that humans could not easily understand. Though peaceful in nature, the Trilari were always seen as dangerous or strange. Wherever they went, doors closed, planets turned them away, and alliances refused to accept them. The Trilari had once been part of a great council of alien races, a place where wisdom and knowledge were shared freely. But a misunderstanding long ago had turned the council against them. A deadly conflict broke out, and though the Trilari had acted to protect others, every race blamed them for the war. They were exiled, scattered across the galaxy and left to wander alone. Generation after generation grew up knowing only loneliness, learning to hide their hopes to survive. Now they floated near a dying star. Their ships, delicate and sleek, moved like living creatures following the currents of the solar wind. The star was old and its energy was fading. The Trilari knew they could not survive here for long. Supplies were low, systems failing, and hope was slipping away. One of them, a young Trilari named Leora, looked out from the ship's observation dome. Her many eyes reflected the red-orange light of the dying star, and a quiet sorrow filled her. "We cannot stay," she said to the others. "If we remain, we will be lost." Across the void, a human scout ship appeared. The Odyssey was sleek and fast, equipped for exploration rather than combat. Humans were spreading across the stars, seeking new worlds, new resources, and new knowledge. Captain Elena Morales had led her crew on countless missions. Yet something about the Trilari drew her attention. She had heard stories of their exile, but she had never expected to see them herself. Elena ordered her ship to slow, keeping a safe distance. She knew that approaching unknown beings could be dangerous, but her curiosity and sense of justice would not allow her to turn away. On the Trilari side, Leora and the others sensed movement and light. They paused, uncertain. Fear had taught them to expect attack, not welcome. But there was something different about this ship, something that felt. Human communication was the first challenge. The Trilari spoke in tones that vibrated in ways humans could feel. Not here. Elena's team used translation devices, sending simple signals of peace. Slowly, the Trilari responded, sharing images of their ships, their people, and the dangers they faced. For the first time in many centuries, the Trilari felt understood. They were not alone. Elena decided to offer help. She extended a hand in human tradition, though she knew the Trilari did not use hands in the same way. It was a gesture of trust. Leora, hesitant, mirrored the motion as best she could. The connection was fragile but real. Humanity had opened the door that every other race had slammed shut. The Odyssey brought the Trilari aboard. Their movements were careful, cautious, but the humans did not rush them. They provided food, clean air, and warmth. Simple things that the Trilari had gone without for decades. Elena listened as Leora told her story. Each word carried sadness and pride, a long history of exile and perseverance. The humans did not judge. They only listened. "You have knowledge we can learn from," Elena said. "And we have homes we can share. Maybe together we can find a future." The Trilari were hesitant. They had heard such promises before, but always they ended in betrayal. Yet in the eyes of these humans they saw sincerity. There was no greed, no desire to use them as weapons or tools. These humans offered something they had never had: acceptance. The journey to the human colony of New Horizon was not easy. The Trilari had never traveled so far under another's guidance. Ships had to coordinate, routes had to be planned, and unknown dangers in space had to be avoided. Yet the Trilari adapted quickly. Their minds worked differently, able to calculate and perceive risks in ways humans could not. Together, the crew and the Trilari navigated asteroid fields, solar flares, and unstable wormholes. Through cooperation, a bond began to form. During the voyage, Leora walked among the humans, observing their daily life. Children laughed and played, oblivious to fear or prejudice. Adults worked together, solving problems, sharing ideas, and caring for one another. The Trilari had lived in fear for so long that the sight of a community that thrived on trust and respect was almost overwhelming. One evening, Leora approached Captain Morales. The stars glimmered outside the viewport and silence filled the ship. "Why do you help us?" Leora asked. We are outcasts. Everyone else has turned away, Elena smiled gently. Because we know what it feels like to be alone. Humans have made mistakes and we have enemies, but we also have hope. We do not fear the unknown, we embrace it. We believe in learning from others, in growing together. You are not a threat to us. You are potential. And potential is worth protecting. The Trillari felt something they had not felt in centuries. Trust. It was fragile, yes, but real. For the first time, they imagined a life where they could belong, where they could use their skills not for survival alone, but for contribution, for friendship, and for hope. By the time the Odyssey reached New Horizon, the Trillari had begun to change. Their movements became less cautious, their tones less tense. They still carried the weight of exile, but they now carried a spark of something new. Possibility. Humanity had opened a door that no one else had dared to open, and the Trillari were ready to step through. As the colony came into view, glowing softly under the light of a distant sun, Leora whispered to her people, "Perhaps this time, we have finally found a place where we belong." And so, the first chapter of a new alliance began, not forged in war, not born from fear, but built on understanding, courage, and the simple human belief that even those banished by all could find a home. The colony of New Horizon stretched across a vast plain of silver grass under the light of twin suns. It was a place where humans had built homes, research labs, and farms. Now it would become the first true home for the Trillari in centuries. When the Trillari ships approached the colony, humans gathered to welcome them. Children waved eagerly and adults offered smiles of trust. The Trillari, unused to such warmth, felt a mixture of awe and nervousness. Leora led her people carefully. Their bodies glowed faintly under the twin suns, and their multiple eyes observed every detail. The humans greeted them with patience, speaking slowly, showing gestures and offering help. Even the smallest human acts mattered, offering food, guiding them to quarters, or showing how to use simple machines. These gestures told the Trillari that humanity was not like the other civilizations that had shunned them. Humans did not fear what they did not understand. Humans tried to learn from it. Adjusting to life on New Horizon was not easy for the Trillari. Their ways were different. They communicated through vibrations and subtle colors while humans used sound. They moved with grace that seemed almost too delicate, and their diets were unlike any human food. Simple things like sleeping, eating, or walking through doors became lessons in patience and understanding for both sides. But slowly they adapted. Humans learned to notice the Trillari's subtle cues, and the Trillari began to understand human habits. Children became the fastest bridge between the two species. They laughed together, played together, and learned from one another. One human boy, Kai, loved to watch Leora and her younger siblings demonstrate their strange dances and gestures. In return, he showed them how to climb trees, run through fields, and play simple games. These small connections built trust. For the first time, the Trillari realized that life could be joyful, even after centuries of loneliness. Meanwhile, the adults worked together in more serious matters. The Trillari shared knowledge of advanced energy manipulation, a technology humans had never mastered. Using Trillari guidance, humans built energy grids that powered homes without pollution, increased farming efficiency, and created strong protective shields. Leora worked closely with engineers, teaching them to think in patterns and ways that humans had never considered. But life on New Horizon was not entirely peaceful. News arrived from nearby star systems. A coalition of alien races had learned of the Trillari's presence and saw it as a threat. These races had long feared the Trillari's abilities and considered humans weak for accepting them. Messages of warning, even threats, reached the colony. They demanded the Trillari be returned to exile or they would attack. Humans faced a decision. They could send the Trillari away and avoid conflict, as most other races had done, or they could stand their ground. Captain Morales, Leora, and the colony leaders held a meeting. The council included humans from many walks of life and a few Trillari representatives. Voices raised, ideas clashed, but one thing became clear. New Horizon could not send the Trillari away. Humanity had chosen to welcome them. Humanity would defend them. The first step was preparation. Engineers and Trillari worked together to strengthen the colony's defenses. Shields were reinforced, energy weapons calibrated, and evacuation routes designed. Humans learned new ways to think about strategy from the Trillari, while the Trillari studied human improvisation and courage. Together, they created solutions neither species could have achieved alone. During these tense days, Leora took quiet walks with human scientists. She admired their determination and their ability to keep hope alive, even under threat. One scientist, Mara, explained, "Humans are not the fastest or the strongest or the smartest. But we do not give up. We find ways to survive, to grow, to care. That is our strength." Leora watched Mara smile at her words, realizing they were true. Humans did not need centuries of exile to teach resilience. They lived it every day. As the threat from the coalition grew closer, the colony prepared for contact. Scouts reported that alien ships were approaching in formation, their engines bright and loud against the dark sky. Panic could have spread, but humans and Trillari worked side by side. Young Trillari engineers guided human crews to deploy energy nets that could disrupt enemy weapons. Human pilots trained with Trillari tacticians to anticipate movements. Every day of preparation built confidence. Every challenge strengthened bonds. The first day of the coalition's arrival was tense but quiet. Distant ships hovered at the edge of New Horizons space, scanning, testing defenses, waiting for a reaction. Leora stood with Captain Morales on the observation deck, looking out at the black expanse dotted with lights. "Will they attack?" Leora asked, her voice a soft hum. "Perhaps," Elena said, "but we will not run. We protect what we believe is right. We protect each other." For the Trillari, these words felt like a promise. After centuries of rejection, humans offered something no other race had. Not only safety, but trust. That trust was stronger than fear. That trust could turn hesitation into courage. As days passed, small incidents tested the alliance. A coalition scout ship appeared near a mining station. Humans and Trillari acted together, disabling its sensors without harming the crew. Messages were sent, demonstrating skill, coordination, and goodwill. Slowly, the coalition began to realize that the humans and Trillari were united, intelligent, and willing to defend themselves. Through all of this, the Trillari learned more than technology. They learned human ways of thinking about friendship, loyalty, and courage. They saw humans take risks not for gain, but to protect others. They watched children laugh and play despite the looming threat. They realized that humanity's strength was not just in weapons or ships, it was in heart, in creativity, in the will to rise above fear and hate. By the end of this part, humans and Trillari had built a community stronger than either had imagined. They had faced tension, fear, and prejudice together, and they had grown closer because of it. Leora stood in the center of the colony plaza, watching humans and Trillari work together. Children played a game combining human rules and Trillari gestures, laughing as they ran. Adults discussed strategy and construction, their voices calm but determined. "This is only the beginning," Leora said quietly to herself. "We are learning. We are growing. Perhaps together we can show the galaxy a new way." And so New Horizon became more than a home, it became a symbol. A symbol of hope, of collaboration, and of the extraordinary power of two very different species choosing to trust each other. Humanity had welcomed the banished. Humanity had built bridges where others had built walls. And in that choice, they were becoming more than explorers. They were becoming a force for understanding and unity across the stars. The sky above New Horizon was filled with blinking lights. Alien ships from the Coalition had arrived in full force. Their engines roared, and their weapons glowed with deadly energy. The humans and Trillari had prepared for this moment, but seeing the threat so close made hearts race. Still, there was no panic, only determination. Captain Elena Morales stood on the observation deck beside Leora. "They expect us to fear them," Elena said calmly. "But we have something stronger than fear. We have each other." Leora nodded, her translucent eyes reflecting the fleet outside. After centuries of exile, she felt a strange warmth. Trust in humans, trust in their plan, trust in their courage. The first strike came at dawn. Coalition ships fired beams at the outer shields of New Horizon. Energy flared and sparks danced in the sky, but the shields held. Human engineers, guided by Trillari insight, adjusted power flows in real time. Leora and her people predicted weak points in the enemy's formation, relaying signals to the human fleet. It was a perfect blend of human ingenuity and Trillari foresight. Pilots soared into space, weaving through enemy fire. Humans acted with courage, improvising when plans needed change. Trillari tacticians directed energy grids, creating barriers that slowed enemy attacks. Small squads worked together seamlessly, proving that cooperation could overcome greater strength. The coalition had expected easy victory, but instead they faced unity, intelligence, and determination unlike anything they had seen. During the battle, a young human fighter, Kai, flew alongside a Trilari navigator, following subtle signals and gestures. They dodged beams, predicted movements, and worked as one. When Kai's ship was struck, the Trilari navigator guided him safely to the colony. The teamwork amazed both sides, proof that trust once built could save lives in the heat of combat. On the ground, engineers reinforced structures, rerouted energy, and maintained defenses. Leora and human scientists worked together to ensure resources were not wasted, optimizing every system. Despite the chaos, calm reasoning and collaboration prevented panic. Humans inspired hope, while Trilari inspired strategy. Hours passed and the coalition began to falter. Their formations broke under coordinated attacks. The human-Trilari alliance was fast, clever, and resilient. Enemy ships retreated when they realized that New Horizon was more than a colony. It was a united community capable of defending itself, no matter the odds. After the battle, the coalition sent envoys seeking negotiation. They had witnessed something they did not expect: a species that could accept the banished and turn it into a source of strength. Captain Morales and Leora welcomed the envoys, sharing their story and their vision of cooperation. "Strength is not in isolation," Elena said. "It is in unity. It is in understanding. It is in choosing to work together, even when fear tells you not to." The Trilari became ambassadors for peace, traveling to other worlds to teach understanding, patience, and innovation. They showed how collaboration with humans could solve problems faster, more efficiently, and with less conflict. Other civilizations began to listen, realizing that fear of the unknown often caused more harm than good. Humans and Trilari also worked to rebuild damaged colonies and systems. Together, they implemented energy systems that were clean, shields that were strong yet sustainable, and communication networks that connected distant planets. Their partnership became a model for others in the galaxy. On New Horizon, life returned to normal, but with a new sense of purpose. Children played games mixing human and Trilari styles, laughter echoing across silver plains. Adults worked in labs, farms, and council halls, teaching each other and planning for the future. Leora looked at the colony and felt pride. They had been banished by all, yet here they were valued, trusted, and needed. Humans, too, had changed. They had proven to themselves and the galaxy that courage, empathy, and open-mindedness could achieve more than weapons alone. They had turned a small act of kindness, welcoming the banished, into a movement of strength, trust, and leadership. The Trilari, once wandering exiles, now had purpose. Their knowledge, once feared, was celebrated. Their wisdom, once ignored, guided others. And the humans who had welcomed them became more than explorers. They became beacons of hope, showing that a species could rise not just through power, but through heart and understanding. As night fell on New Horizon, twin suns dipping below the horizon, Leora and Elena stood side by side looking at the stars. "We have done something incredible," Leora whispered. "We are no longer alone. We are part of something bigger," Elena smiled. "The galaxy will watch us. They may fear at first, but eventually they will learn. And one day, maybe all will see that cooperation and trust are stronger than hate and fear." And so, humanity and the Trilari moved forward together. Their story spread across the stars, of those who were banished by all, yet welcomed and empowered by humans. They showed that courage, empathy, and cooperation could reshape the galaxy, creating a future where no one would be alone, where the rejected could thrive, and where strength came not from domination, but from unity. New alliances formed. Old prejudices were challenged. And in the hearts of humans and Trilari alike, a single truth burned brightly. When compassion meets courage, even the banished can become heroes, and together, they could change the galaxy forever.